Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Athens, there lived a philosopher named Aristotle. He was one of the greatest thinkers the world had ever known, and he spent his life trying to understand the deepest questions of human existence. One of the biggest questions he asked was, what is happiness? This might seem like a simple question, but Aristotle believed that happiness was not just about feeling good or having fun. He thought happiness was something much deeper, something that could shape our entire lives. Aristotle was the student of another famous philosopher, Plato, but he had his own ideas about life and happiness. He believed that everything in the universe had a purpose, and that the purpose of human life was to achieve something called eudaimonia. This is a Greek word, and it doesn't just mean happiness in the way we usually think of it. Eudaimonia is more like flourishing or living well. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. So how do we achieve this kind of happiness? Aristotle had many thoughts on this. First, he said that happiness is not something that just happens to us. It's not luck. It's not something we can find in money, fame, or even pleasure. Instead, happiness comes from living a life of virtue. Virtue, to Aristotle, meant excellence in character. It meant being brave when we need to be brave, being kind when we need to be kind, and being wise in our choices. Imagine a musician. A musician doesn't become great by accident. They practice. They learn from their mistakes. They push themselves to improve. Aristotle believed that living a good life was like this. We have to practice being good people. We have to make choices that help us grow. And just like a musician who finds joy in playing beautiful music, we find happiness in living a meaningful life. But Aristotle also knew that we are not alone in this world. We are social creatures. We need friends, family, and community. He said that friendship is one of the most important parts of a happy life. Not just any kind of friendship, but deep, meaningful friendships where we care for each other and help each other grow. A life without friends, he believed, would be a life without real happiness. Another key to happiness, according to Aristotle, is using our reason. Humans are different from animals because we can think, reflect, and make choices. If we ignore this ability, if we live only for pleasure or only for money, we will never be truly happy. Instead, we must use our minds to understand the world, to make good decisions, and to live with purpose. Aristotle also talked about the importance of balance. He called this the golden mean. This means that virtue is often found in the middle between two extremes. For example, courage is the middle between being reckless and being cowardly. Generosity is the middle between being wasteful and being greedy. Happiness comes from finding this balance in all parts of our lives. But what about hardships? What about pain and suffering? Aristotle knew that life is not always easy. He didn't say that happy people never feel sadness or face challenges. Instead, he believed that happiness is about how we respond to these challenges. If we face them with courage, wisdom, and patience, we grow stronger. And that growth is part of what makes life meaningful. Aristotle's ideas about happiness are still important today because they remind us that happiness is not just a feeling. It's a way of living. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves, about caring for others, and about using our minds to live with purpose. In a world where many people chase after quick pleasures or material success, Aristotle's wisdom reminds us that true happiness is deeper. It's built over time, through our actions, our choices, and our relationships. So what can we learn from Aristotle about happiness? First, happiness is not something we find, it's something we create. Second, it comes from living with virtue, from being kind, brave, and wise. Third, we need friendship and community to be truly happy. Fourth, we must use our reason to live with purpose. And finally, happiness is about balance, not too much, not too little, but just right. Aristotle's teachings have lasted for thousands of years because they speak to something deep in the human heart. We all want to be happy. But real happiness is not about having everything we want. It's about becoming everything we can be. And that perhaps is the greatest lesson of all.